Hello everybody, welcome to our 8th webinar related to the Boost Your Autodesk Up and Ready knowledge. This webinar is related to understanding of Autodesk products prerequisites, whether it's a hardware prerequisites or software prerequisites. The presenter of this webinar is Brett Hurley. Brett is a product support specialist at Autodesk. My name is Auto Chachava. I am Senior Product Specialist at Autodesk Systems team. Brett, can you go to the next slide, please?
Sure.
The webinar format is as follows. So we have about a 1 hour presentation, a 1 hour webinar session with you guys. And from this 1 hour, 30 minutes will be a presentation, which Brett's going to go over to the product prerequisites, hardware and software. And we also have 30 minutes Q&A section, if in case you have further questions or additional questions which are not covered during this webinar, you are welcome to ask while Brett is presenting his content. So at this time, I'll ask Brett to continue with the webinar. Thank you, and Brett, you may proceed.
Thanks, Avto. So we'll start off with talking about the upcoming webinars. These upcoming webinars is the clean reinstall of Autodesk software on Windows and a clean reinstall on Mac. Now if you go to our forums page, here you can see the dates of when the upcoming webinars are. Now all the webinars that we've already covered have been posted on YouTube. You can go to YouTube to view the prior webinar sessions. From here, you can also sign up to access for the next upcoming webinars. You can also provide feedback to us by going to our Up and Ready forums here, where you can provide responses. All right, so if we go back to the presentation.
Here comes the poll questions. Question, we're going to send to you guys, and would like to kind of know whether you have seen and checked the product system prerequisites for your Autodesk software. Okay. So please take your time and answer whether you have seen the prerequisites page for Autodesk software or not. So, thank you. In about kind of 15 seconds, I'll be closing the poll and then share the results. Okay, poll is now closed, and here is the results. So we see that 88% of attendees have seen Autodesk system prerequisites page before installing the product, and 12 have not looked into it. So poll is hidden now, and Brad, you may continue.
Great, good results we got. The beginning of every installation starts with your system requirement, your prerequisites. The knowledge and tools you'll gain from this presentation will help to resolve problems with installing your Autodesk product or suite. We will cover the following topics: learning the core product prerequisites such as Microsoft Visual C++, .NET Framework, DirectX. You'll be able to identify the prerequisites, examples of installation failures caused by prerequisites. We'll discuss a couple of errors related to installation failures. And then we'll talk about solutions with resolving these failures and just prior installation prerequisites. On the next page here, the next slide, the Microsoft Visual C++ redistributable package installs runtime components of Visual C++ libraries to run application development for Visual C++ on a computer. Your .NET framework is a software framework developed by Microsoft. The primary function of .NET consists of the execution of running applications and .NET class libraries. DirectX is a collection of application programming interface, also known as APIs. The APIs are used for handling tasks specific to multimedia. You can find your C++ redistributables in .NETs already installed on your machine from the programs and features, from Windows Programs and Features. The screen on the right is a screenshot that shows your C++ redistributables. For DirectX, can be located by clicking on the Start button and typing dx-diag in the search or run command. This will provide you with the version of DirectX that's currently installed on your machine. The third-party folder is located in C Autodesk Products or Suite. In there you'll see the actual installation files for your C++ redistributables, DirectX, and .NET. I'll show you an example here. So here is your third-party folder for AutoCAD 2015, and within here you have the DirectX installers, your .NET, and for your C++ redistributables, you just go to the 64-bit version, VCR, redis, and for the 86 version, the next part we'll get into is your setup.ini. If you notice, your setup.ini is located in the AutoCAD 2015 folder. So if we open this up, here we'll find your redistributables for Microsoft C++, VC Redis, .NET, DirectX. So if you just go to Edit up at the top, Find, or just hit Control F, this will bring up the Find screen, and just type in VC Redis. This will direct you to all the VC redistributables. For instance, this brings us right to AutoCAD. As you can see here, there are multiple versions of the redistributables. So if you click Find Next, this will bring us down to Recap. As we can see, Recap uses the redistributables. Now that you're familiar with the core prerequisites, we can jump into troubleshooting the beginning stages of an installation. The installation product page. The installation will show as completed. However, you'll see that some products have failed to install. When the installer fails to install one of the products, you'll see a red X along with a link to your log. You could click on the link and this will open up your log. You can also locate your log by going into your temp directory folder and locate the file. The name of the file would be the name of the product that you're trying to install, setup, .log. Now once you have the log open, just search on the keyword fail. This will show you all the errors that were generated during the installation. In the slideshow here, I have an example of your failure, a failure with C++ 2010. What's key about this error message is that with the 1603 error, this most likely indicates that a newer version has already been installed on the system. So the first solution for this is to manually uninstall and reinstall your C++ libraries. In this case, because you were only failing on 2010, 2010 is the only version that you need to uninstall. So to manually uninstall, just go into Windows, Programs and Features, locate the C++ library, and just uninstall it. And then after you've completed the uninstall, to reinstall, you just go into the folder, locate your C++ redistributable on the right-hand side as an example. As you can see, there's 2008 Service Pack 1, 2010 Service Pack 1 for 64-bit, as well as for the 86-bit version. The next method, the next slide, provides another solution to solve the installation problem, removing the prerequisites from the setup.ini. Now, if you remember, we can do this because a 1603 error message indicates that a newer version of the redistributable has been already installed. So what we can do here is locate and open the setup.ini using Notepad, search and remove the prerequisite you're failing on, save the document, and run the setup.exe. I'll show you an example here as we open up the setup.ini. So in this case, we were failing on C++, so we want to go make sure the mouse cursor is at the very top of the page. Go to Edit, Find, and we want to type in VC Redis. Click Find Next. This will bring us right down to the redistributables for AutoCAD. What you want to do is remove all versions of the redistributable. And then after that, hit Find Next. This will bring us down to Recap. And we're going to remove all versions that Recap uses. And same goes for Autodesk Tools. And you want to make sure that you remove the semicolon here. So basically, we're just going through and removing all VC Redis. Oops. Now this last part is where the actual VC distributables are. So what you want to do is starting from the beginning all the way down to the end, we want to delete the entire entries here, so that way all you see is VC redis begin and end. After that, we're done modifying the setup.ini. All you need to do is just simply save it, close it, and run the setup.exe. For those users who are running Windows 8.x, this slide gives you an example of when the installer fails to try to install .NET 3.5.x. Windows.x does not have 3.5 installed. So on the next slide here, I'm going to show you what you need to do is go into the control panel and click on Programs, Programs and Features. On the left-hand side, click on Turn Features On and Off. This will open up the Windows Features box. Check off .NET Framework 3.5. Includes 2.0 and 3.0. Next, the framework will be downloaded through Windows Update Manager. You'll need an internet connection to download the files. The last slide will discuss the actions needed to install prerequisites. Admin rights to the machine is needed, so you have full reads and writes to the machine. An internet connection is required, as mentioned in the last slide. Also too, you might need to reboot your operating systems as required with installing the latest version of C++. At this point, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions.
Hello everybody. Thank you for attending this presentation, and we do have some questions. We received some questions during the webinar. So one of them is why can't the installation process detect a higher version of installed prerequisites on the system and bypass or to not install the ones needed for the product? And whenever the installation happens on the system, the installation process is controlled by Windows Installer. So Windows Installer is the mechanism which installs the product on your system, and the prerequisites are the Microsoft prerequisites. So we don't really have much say on that stage. So Windows Installer that determines whether it's be able to install the software or not, and quite often the way the Microsoft builds their updates, if you have a higher update installed, higher update for any kind of Visual C++, it usually prevents installing the previous one. And the way the Autodesk installer works is we provide needed updates for each product, right? And at the time the product is built, whatever the updates were needed for the product to function successfully were provided with the product installer. Now, if after that time, after product is released, then Microsoft releases the higher version of update and installs it via Windows Update or any other application you install after installing the Autodesk product, also updates the Visual C++ or .NET or any other prerequisites, shared prerequisites for Autodesk products, that issue can happen. And I also agree with Jeff a lot, and like Jeff mentioned that before making any changes to the setup INI file, it's good to have it backed up. And Brett just showed you his way of troubleshooting this type of issues. Now, my personal way is a bit different because I usually do not try to remove all Visual C++ redistributables from a setup INI file, but I try to uninstall the installed product, install the Visual C++ from the system itself, and then let the Autodesk product install needed prerequisite. Or in case the customer doesn't want, or you don't want to uninstall currently installed prerequisites from your system, and we know if we can trust that update and that if that was installed correctly and registered correctly on your system, then we can try to kind of hack the setup INI file and remove that specific version of the Microsoft Visual C++ redistributable from a setup INI file. It is the same way as Brad showed you during this webinar. However, I would target only the the version of the C++ which failed to install. Now, another question is if some machines have newer versions of .NET and some do not, do you need to different setup INI files? No. Now, when it comes to a .NET, yes, because .NET is a part of the Windows, and when you install software, or many other application on your system which relies on .NET, the software can install its own. .NET can be installed through the Windows update as well. Now, for example, the good question is .NET different versions, because different features of AutoCAD may require the specific codes of the earlier version of .NET, and if that's the case, that type of .NET installer is shipped with the product installer. Now, when it comes to, let's say, Windows 8.1, so 8.1 usually it locks the previous version of the .NET, such as 3.5, for example. So to address that issue, you need to go to a control panel, add remove programs and features, and open the Windows features, and there make a checkbox to include .NET 3.5 or earlier version of .NET, so that the compatibility side was preserved with your systems installed .NET and needed .NET to run the product successfully. Now, another question is, does the newer versions of Prereqs work with your install, given he took out any install of older versions? Now, this is a really tricky question, because whenever the new release are installed, like new release comes with the new libraries, new DLL files, new controlling mechanisms of the memory locations, and there could be many different things which are not fully tested. Typically, I would think that a newer version should work, but it's not necessary. So that's why, if your business is based on Autodesk products and you really need to make Autodesk product is your priority and you would like to make it work, right? I would trust and I would go with versions of prerequisites shipped with the product installer and try to install them manually. Sometimes odd things can happen. Maybe during the installation time, the Windows installer may not be able to install the prerequisites, but if you go to and it fails, right? So then if you go to third-party folder of your or your extracted product installer location, and then locate the failed prerequisites, let's say Visual C++, and you try to double-click on it, installation goes fine. Because 1603 error, which Brad pointed out, that's a very generic error message. It could relate, not necessarily that there is a newer version of the prerequisite installed. It also could relate that some other software on your system is using at the moment of your Autodesk product installation that particular prerequisite and blocks it. Or maybe antivirus is it's blocking it too. So it's a general error message. Basically, it says that a resource you would like to access is not reachable. That's okay.
And
Yes.
to add to that, you can see to see what version of .NET that is required, you can just go to your system requirements. Your system requirements shows what .NET versions are needed to install your product.
So there is a question like, so what was shown is not recommended is do the uninstall of all new version and install Autodesk Prereqs for the right ones. Confusing for some users. Would be better to say in a large deployment of 100 users, we just push the third party first. Now, when we do the larger deployments, let's say over 100 users, like it mentioned into the question. So you may want to use like SCCM deployments, and in that case, you have an option, when you create a deployment image for your Autodesk software. So deployment creation, the newer deployment creation wizards such as 2014, 2015, they create SCCM folder with your deployment creation shared folder, which contains the scripts for you can use or utilize or modify and decide, whether you would like to install needed prereqs first and then install separately the product itself, or you would like to install your deployment from the general SCCM deployment. Now, would it be better to install third-party first? Probably, probably. I personally have never worked with 100 users on a computers more than, let's say, 5 or 6, but probably it depends again on your network, and it also depends, if you're pushing deployment to such a large computers, where your deployment is hosted from. Is it a local to the user machines you're planning to deploy this product, or it's like hosted somewhere else in like a different city, different office, different geo? Like there's many different many different things can play into that role. There could be like a networking traffic latency, could also make problem during the deployment creation or things like that.
Thank you, Apto. Do we have any
You're
more
welcome.
questions?
Yes, I also agree with one of the attendees, like Peter, for example. Instead of kind of backing up a setup INI, maybe it's good to kind of, commenting out the modified lines in the setup INI file. That's fine. That's exactly personally how I do. And also, like when it comes to prerequisite installations, right? Oftentimes the antiviruses are very strict to any modifications related to the C++. And like for example, we have very known issue with certain antivirus software, such as, let's say, Trend Micro. It's known to kind of just block the C++ distributable installations, and one needs to disable Trend Micro, or in certain cases, user might be an admin user for the local system, but IT has some kind of policy restrictions applied to the systems which overtakes the admin rights on a local system for a user, and the user is not able to make any changes to an antivirus, and then you need to really uninstall the antivirus to make the program work. Now, I also noticed that sometimes if hardware encryption and hard drive encryption is in place, that also could hinder the installation problems as well. And the next webinar, we'll be talking about, which is going to be 2 weeks from now, because we will not have a webinar next week. Next week is everybody happy Thanksgiving, upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, and a week after we have Autodesk University. And so these 2 weeks, we will not be holding the webinar, but a week after Autodesk University, we have webinars. We continue webinars, and we'll cover clean uninstallation of Autodesk products from the Windows side. And there we can also touch base, how to uninstall C++, and what kind of corruptions can go with it too. And we're still open, and if anybody has any further questions, please type out into the questions panel, and we're happy to take it. For any reason, again, question could be any related to this particular topic we presented during this webinar. If the questions were already answered in the previous webinars, we can point you to the webinars to watch or see, like a feedbacks panel. Brad, can you please go to the first, or open up, yes, go there please. Now here, for example, on this forum post, where we keep usually all the webinars and the feedbacks we receive, or the questions we receive during the webinar sessions. So we have it here too, and you can also access the recordings of the previous webinars. Like scroll down, please. Like there's the questions which we received and what was the webinar about. Each webinar. Can you scroll down again, please, Brad? So as you can see now, a majority of the solutions and workarounds we have already published either on our blog, which is Up and Ready blog. It's upandready.typepad.com. So just kind of sent the upandready.typepad.com link through the chat through the questions panel. So the Up and Ready blog, and thank you, Brad. Brad, can you open up the Up and Ready blog, please?
Yep.
So that's our blog site. So that's basically what we think at supporting Autodesk products. So this blog is maintained by Autodesk installation licensing team, like systems team, who handles mostly all Autodesk product installation. There are the few products, Autodesk products, which are not handled by our team, but solutions found or posted here could apply on many, many different products. Let's say if it relates to the AutoCAD, it doesn't mean that solution is only AutoCAD specific. Could be the same solution applicable for Revit installation or any other Autodesk vertical product installations as well. And if you can bookmark this page, it will be always our latest issues we come across during troubleshooting our product installation issues or any kind of issues we run into or our customers run into. We have also solution-based support. When you can go to Autodesk web page and you can search for your problem, and you can find again like Autodesk Knowledge Network solutions published, and usually most of the time, like let's put it like 85-90%, all the cases we receive, we try to solutionize it. Like after closing the case, we have tried to kind of link or create a solution for a customer and publish on Autodesk website. So you can also find solutions related to a prerequisite installations or prerequisite issues from there as well. But personally, like with Up and Ready, it's more like a conversation, more like sharing what we think. It's like maybe not even 100% what we have heard. Like maybe it's not even a 100% complete solution, but it's really where we are, and you also have lots of option to comment on each post and leave your suggestions or tips or anything we can further widen our investigation of certain problem. So I understand one of the attendees believes that like prerequisite installation issues, like when on a system there is a newer version installed, and which prevents the older version product installations is ongoing, and it thinks that like by uninstalling it, it's more like a blame to the third party. But unfortunately, that's exactly how it is. For example, if you happen to have, let's say, had AutoCAD 2013 based products, right? And there was a service pack installed for AutoCAD 2013, let's say service pack 1. Whenever that service pack was installed for AutoCAD based product, that service pack installation was changing certain .NET related engine like Gen on a system, but that was not exactly in our hands not to change, because whenever you install packs to the application, there's a different mechanism, like behind the installation process. It takes over, and you have some kind of limitations what you can update, what you cannot. And now see, if you have a Windows operating system, then you have Microsoft .NET framework you want to install, or Visual C++ you would like to install on your system, and that is not installing on the system. So the limitations there is from the Microsoft, like because they really block that installation. To report certain things to Microsoft, when we find that things are not hindering our product installations, but then the action on them is outside of our abilities to take, But I do understand, like when you install Autodesk product, you may think that, it's, like Autodesk has to kind of fix everything. But, there is, even, when it comes to, let's say, license server, so that's off topic, but, license server is the FlexLM based, right? And if the FlexLM is not supporting the server tools on a given operating system, so there is not much Autodesk can do. Like because we are building our security on some other prerequisites, which the prerequisites are not Autodesk prerequisites are not Autodesk products. Those prerequisites are which makes your operating system and your system ready to run Autodesk software. I don't want to blame anybody, but I just want to kind of make and help you to have Autodesk product run successfully on your system. And if there is any issues with that, we want to kind of help you resolving them. It's like like sometimes I make what do you call them analogy, like you buy a Ferrari and you're taking Ferrari off-road and car breaks. Now who's to blame? Like transport administration, your car dealer, or so there is many things which has to kind of be aligned to make a product work successfully on your system.
Good analogy.
So
do we have any more questions, Avto?
Not really. I don't see any. But if for any reason, after the conversation, after this webinar, we do record everything, so we will have it published on our YouTube channel, and we will also update the feedback forum post, which you see on your screen right now. And if for any reason I missed any of the questions, I'll have it answered there. One of the users asked that, like we mentioned hardware prerequisites, but we did not cover it. Now, hardware prerequisites were covered twice during the webinar sessions. One was done during the Build the Autodesk Installation IQ webinar. That was, I believe, second or third webinar. And then was install your power skills of the product deployment, network deployment of your Autodesk products. So, and also based on the poll questions, it looks like majority of you guys have are looking into the hardware prerequisites of the product. Like 88% says yes. Now it's critical. Now when we talk about the hardware prerequisites, right? So there is minimum requirements and there is the optimal requirements. So if you, Brad, can you kind of on a URL just type autodesk.com/system requirements? Okay. So now this takes you to a page, where you can find system requirement and the minimum system requirements, which such as like what kind of how much RAM you need to have on your system, how much free space you need to have, what kind of operating system you must have on your system, what type of CPU you need to have, and things like that on Autodesk, each individual product as well as suite, Autodesk suites. But there is also, now you can click on any of those. For example, let's click on AutoCAD. Can you click? And there you have a different versions of it now. If you click on 2015, please. Now go scroll down. So those are the operating systems on which products been tested and the supported environment. Like what's the minimum resolution you may have, how much RAM you need to have, how much is recommended. Now, Brad, like I would also ask you to go to autodesk.com/hardware webpage. Okay, so now here you can find optimal system requirements. By optimal, I mean because our products are like resource hungry and many heat is given to a graphics hardware, the best thing to have your product run properly and successfully on your system to have certified graphics card on your system. By certified, that means the cards for each product, before they are released, start going through the heavy testing stage. Let's say if you go to Brett, can you select the graphics hardware and then select the AutoCAD Then select, so we have an option also to select the suite, but if you select suite, you are narrowing down your search, so I would go with the major product in the suite you'll be using, and then let's say go to 2015. No, do not go to suite, please. Just keep AutoCAD, then go to 2015, then select the operating system. Thank you. Okay, and now click all. Just click down below, radio button, please. Yes. So now you can see now, click find. Thank you. And now you can see here all the video cards which are tested for AutoCAD 2015 on a Windows 7 64-bit system. And then you can scroll down below there, Brad. So you can see the video cards have a shield and star. So that means it's certified and recommended. Now scroll down, please, again. So there could be now down below we see the cards which do not have a star nor shield. So those cards, AutoCAD were tested on these cards, but it's neither recommended neither certified. Probably there are some issues with those cards. And now if you click, let's say, the last shielded product video card, just click on it, please. So if you click on any of these video cards now, it's going to take you to a next page where you can see when Autodesk AutoCAD was tested on a system with Windows 7 64-bit on this particular video card, right, what drivers were used. And there's a driver version 340.52. So sometimes having the higher version of video drivers doesn't necessarily make your system run much ready for Autodesk product. But in case you find that your screen is not refreshing, it's taking too much to draw the line, so there could be some kind of issues with the video driver. So maybe you can come and uninstall your current driver, even if it's the same release. Sometimes maybe something went misaligned in DirectX side, and the DirectX side, and reinstalling the reinstalling the video card drivers can fix that issue for you. Now if you click on the download driver link, so that's going to let you download certified driver for your product, okay, for your video card, and that way you can see what's done and what's not to have your system optimized. Of course there are many other video cards under which the Autodesk products are working fine, but they are, because Autodesk products are not tested on those video cards, right? Because of that, it's not, you don't see on this link, on this list, and in Autodesk officially do not support products on not tested hardware environments. Okay. So another question is if there is an article showing the versions of C++ required for AutoCAD or particular versions of it. So Jeff, unfortunately there is not this kind of knowledge base article for it. But again, so all you need, you need to just kind of look into the setup INI file to find them, and setup INI file usually has a kind of the main name of the product, let's say Visual C++ 2008 SERSPAC 1. But then after that, installer itself could have some other fixes applied to it. So it's really hard to say. And the list what's need to be done, we just rely on a Windows installer, which during the installation of the prerequisites, makes the call. If it needs to we may also need during the installation of prerequisites, may need to also connect to Microsoft servers to download certain DLLs. Depends on the operating system and depends on the state of the hardware and the system itself. At the time of the product installation. It happens like that. For example, if you install a .NET framework related stuff. Now, Brad, can you go back to system requirements page, please?
Sure.
And now click on, no, not that one, just hardware. Yes, no, not even that one. So go to the page you were. Okay, and now click the back button to kind of go No, the graphics hardware.
Graphics hardware.
Yeah, now click on, okay, go scroll down. Now click on the last one, let's say NVIDIA GeForce GTX. Scroll down. So now it looks like, so this video card has passed some basic tests, and there is no any kind of but it's still not recommended by decision of the QA team. Now sometimes, usually, if for any reason certain texts fail, so you see instead of green checkbox like passed with issues like exclamation or failed like red X next to that particular feature of the Autodesk product. Okay, so if there is further questions, please. We have it. We have like a couple more minutes for you. Okay, in the video driver, should you download the latest or approved? Okay, so video drivers. Now, if you're just installing the product, you can install the product. Typically, like I would, again, so for my experience, like 98%, the higher version of the drivers work fine. Okay, I would go down to the recommended drivers if it's not working for you. So that could happen too. Sometimes with video drivers, could happen something like there's a known issue, for example, with on laptop computers when you have Intel built-in hardware and NVIDIA GeForce card in it too. So sometimes you need to kind of disable one of those video cards to make it work. And sometimes, the different drivers for the NVIDIA card can make your product work, in both ways, and not letting you to download. But that's again, like that's issues, we come again, and it's system by system based. And when we receive a call or support request from our customer, we identify issues. We usually can right away publish that on our Up and Ready blog, and then if it reaches to the critical level, then we have a kind of we move it to knowledge network as a solution. Again, thank you very much, everybody, for attending today's webinar. We had some kind of issues here, and we started a little late, and so again, we can keep the channel open, and if you have further questions, please, you can ask. You're very welcome, and we see certain names here, attending almost all Autodesk webinars from the webinar one, and it makes us really happy to see them. And if you can kind of sign up for the other webinars, and we'll see your names there too, we will try to remember you and help you out as much as we can. Again, thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and hopefully we'll see you later in the next webinar sessions. In next year, by the way, we're going to go through, and we're probably going to reboot and redo the older webinars in different ways as well. So please check that webinar registration page often to be synced with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Avto. Thank you, everyone.